Welcome to episode 1 of How to Learn Anything, the show in which I risk my life and sanity attempting to learn insane skills from scratch with the goal of making you say, maybe I could do that too. During the show, we'll break down the process of learning anything into bite-sized chunks of information provided by industry experts, my failure, and hopefully my eventual success. For the first episode of the series, we decided to combine a skill that requires brain power and quick, detailed movement with a skill that makes using your brain and moving quickly incredibly difficult. The skill will involve a twin-prop, 12-passenger plane flying at an altitude of over 14,000 feet. It will also involve myself being strapped to a large Australian man and being flung with this man out of said plane. While I'm strapped to this man, moving towards Earth at roughly 220 kilometers per hour, I'll be attempting to complete one of the world's classic handheld puzzle games before the chute is released. From the day that I start learning to the day that I jump, I'll have exactly 37 days to go from never having solved a cube before to solving it in under 60 seconds. Hold on tight and let's start learning. This is how to solve a Rubik's Cube while skydiving. Hey Theodore, my name is Steven, and I heard you're the right guy to talk to about learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Right.
Yeah, cool, all right.
Nice to meet you.
So where do you start?
There are a lot of YouTube tutorials that are very good.
Okay.
It's something you can actually do in a day. One common misconception is that it's very hard to solve, very hard to learn, but that's really not the case.
Okay. How far of a reach is it to be able to solve a Rubik's Cube in under 60 seconds? Like, would you say
Not
that
at all. The average person, I think the
it,
average person could do it.
Really? Okay. Like, how long do you think it would take for a guy to go from never solving a Rubik's Cube before to solving one in 60 seconds? Give me hours. How many hours?
10, 20?
Okay.
Just...
That's actually surprisingly low. Like, I would have guessed it would be a lot higher. All right, so after my conversation with Theodora, I'm feeling a lot more confident with my ability to get the Rubik's Cube solved in under 60 seconds, on the ground at least. My plan to do this is as follows. Step 1 is to buy a cube. I bought 20 or so just in case I dropped them during the jumps. The second step is to check out a few tutorials and memorize the 7 basic algorithms it takes to solve a cube. What I think is the third and final step to pulling this thing off is that once I've mastered solving it, it sounds like all it takes is a ton of practice, and I should be able to get this thing solved in under 60 seconds in about 2 to 3 weeks. All right, should probably get started. I have absolutely no idea how the first person to solve this figured it out. This is ridiculous. I can't even figure out one side.
That used to be there. What?
It took me about an hour to wrap my head around how the cube works initially, and then another 20 minutes or so to figure out the first step. After that, it took 3 days of practicing consistently a few hours a day before I was able to solve the cube without a tutorial. Yes! Yes! Now that I can solve the cube by memory, it's time to move on to the hard part, learning how to solve it in under 60 seconds. Two days after solving the cube for the first time without a tutorial, I was able to go from taking about 10 minutes to solve the cube to getting it down to 5. I just think it was more from having a better understanding of how it works than anything else. It probably took me another week or so to get my time under 3 minutes, which was when I started to recognize when I was going to finish certain steps before they were done, if that makes any sense. I was improving fairly quickly and was feeling great about that fact, so I decided to take a break. And then I panicked because I had gotten slower and the jump was much closer to 3 weeks away than it was a month away. I went on a practicing spree, practicing at breakfast while walking to work when I was supposed to be working and when I wasn't supposed to be doing anything at all. Through those 5 days, I was able to get the average down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. It felt great, and then it felt terrible because I was stuck. It seemed like no matter what I did or learned, I would not improve. And then I remember Theodore saying, make sure to practice deliberately with the intent to improve and not just to go faster, or something like that. I took his wisdom to heart and focused on the steps that I was bad at rather than just trying to improve as a whole. And bam, a few days later, 47 hours and 27 days after learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube, I was able to solve it in under 60 seconds consistently. How many skydives have you done?
I've probably got around 4,000 skydives.
How high up are we when we jump?
Okay, so we're gonna take this aircraft up to 14,000 feet above the ground.
Okay.
And when we jump out, once we actually start reaching terminal velocity, we'll get about 120 miles per hour, 220 Ks.
Okay.
We'll free fall for around 60 seconds total time before I have to pull a parachute, and then we have a parachute ride to the ground.
All right, so after my conversation with JMO, I feel like I need to prepare a lot more for the conditions of the jump. But according to him, there's actually no way to copy the feeling of a skydive. That said, my plan is to try to recreate that feeling so that I can come to the jump day as prepared as possible. The 4 things that I think are going to be the most impactful to my ability to solve the cube are the cold, restricting how fast I can move my fingers, the psychological factor of skydiving psyching me out, the crazy fast winds preventing me from holding on or turning the cube, and the time sensitivity with real consequences if I don't solve it in under 60 seconds. The first thing we tried was to solve it underwater, and that worked pretty well. We tried go-karting, and that didn't. To create stress, my brother threw tennis balls at me, which I still don't agree with, and then he played drums, so I guess we're equal on the embarrassment part. Then we tried to solve it on stage at a metal show, which I failed at. I practiced in front of a fan that I don't think was nearly powerful enough, put my hands in ice water for the cold, and then my other brother sprayed me with water because I didn't get it in time.
Got it!
I have no idea if any of this stuff actually helped, but it doesn't really matter because it's jump day. So nervous!
You ready? Ready! Okay, cut it up, bud.
We got pretty much the first 2 layers finished. I think we can do this. Here we go.
There's gonna be a whole gang on this jump.
Today is the second day and the 3rd jump.
Hit the bottom, right?
Hit the bottom. And that's how you solve a Rubik's Cube while skydiving. As far as takeaways go for this week's episode, I'd say that the first one is that Rubik's Cubes are a lot easier to learn than I'd originally thought. That said, if you want to get good, you gotta master the art of deliberate practice in order to improve. And the third one is, if you're trying super hard to do something that you really care about, don't give up.